Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Basic Java Tutorials. I'm Alan Oden.
And I'm Dalton and
This episode, we're just going to be walking you through a couple of new things, not much, and just kind of showing some real application of it. Well,
to a degree.
To a degree. There's already things built in, but we're just going to kind of show you how it works.
Very simple, but it's...
Yeah, so right now we just went and made a new package, just like we did in, I think it was the first episode. We named it Factorialize because what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to have the console ask for input from the user and factorialize the number. If you don't know what that means, that is taking a number and multiplying it by every number less than itself down till 1. So like 4 factorialized is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. 7 is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Now, this is going to be a really good application for the use of a for statement, but we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Another thing we're going to get into is, obviously, an application really isn't good if you can't have too much user input. That's kind of the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, that's what applications are for. That's the reason you're doing this. Most of the time, it's going to be for somebody else. And we're also going to use some scanners, which are probably the most basic type of input you could ever want to do.
Yes. It's just a way of reading something from the console itself. Okay. Now we're going to start off here with something that makes it a little easier to use for full-out programs.
Yes.
This way, static here, there are some variables that you can't use quite right with static. So we're going to do something here, which is, I forgot what the name of it is. We're going to create a new instance of the program Factorialize. So, new Factorialize.
Or whatever your class name is.
Yes, if you named this something else, it would be new, and then whatever the name of that is. Okay. Oop, I spelled that wrong, didn't I?
Just copy-paste.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now that you've got that, you do actually need to make something called Factorialize.
This also does not need anything in front of it, public, private, anything like that.
No modifiers required. This is what is called constructor. Of course it doesn't work. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that. That was a spelling error again.
Just on top of your game today, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long day. Okay, so to start off, we're going to start off with defining the scanner. Again, this works a lot like most other variables. Scanner. We're going to name this scan. Pretty simple. If you want to get a little bit more descriptive, you can. Equals, and then we're going to set this to a new scanner.
And then inside the parentheses, here is what you're going to want to put what you're going to scan in. In our case, we're just going to use the log console here in NetBeans, so it would just be system.in.
Okay, and again, you're going to fix your inputs, Control-Shift-I, and you are going to want to use the default here. Okay. Oh, that's empty. Okay, format everything. Okay, so next line here, we're just going to prompt the user for some input. If you don't have this, the user won't know what they're supposed to do with the program. So, we're going to create a new string here. Now, I don't remember if I've mentioned this before or not, the autocomplete feature. I found out earlier today that the autocomplete feature is not the same on most installations as it is on mine. I believe it's actually tab is the default. You can change that by going into your tools, your options here. You want to go to here, code templates, and down here I have it set to shift plus space. You can set that to whatever you want it to. And in here will be all of the different abbreviations. If you type that, hit shift space, it'll replace it with this, whatever that happens to be. You can set up your own ones by clicking new, but we're not going to get into that now because that's kind of just for shortening stuff up. So we're going to prompt, like I said, we're going to prompt the user, so we're just going to name this question. And we want this to be equal to, we're going to ask them what we should factorialize. I'm going to save myself the trouble here of misspelling again.
You're just going to butcher this all day long.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that we actually have this here, we need to tell the user that we want to know what they want to do. So system.out, and then we're going to want a print line. Now, there's multiple different instances of print line. It doesn't matter which one you pick, they're all the same. It'll just put a different value in for default. Okay, and now just test this out, make sure everything's working so far. Building and running. Should pop up here pretty soon.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Running. And there you go, it printed it. Now right now you can't actually do anything with it because, well, that's all there is to it. It's printing a line. So next, we're gonna put this next part inside a try catch here. Dalton will talk you through that while I set it up.
Okay, so obviously, as you know, as we went over try and catches, you're going to try whatever you put in there is something that could possibly not happen. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're going to only be using whole numbers because it's an integer. Okay, so first we're going to want to declare our result variable. We're going to call it int result, and you can set it equal to whatever you want. We're just going to set it to 1.
Actually, for the way this is set up, you have to set it to 1 to start with. This is because if you multiply a number by anything other than 1, it won't be itself.
Yes.
Just for starting off, we want it to be 1.
Yeah, exactly. So don't put it to 0 or anything like that. All right. So now the for statement. For int I equals integer dot phrase int.
That's parse.
Parse.
Int.
I can pronounce things today. That's okay. You can't spell. I can't pronounce. Okay.
And they will balance each other out.
Yeah. Good thing we got each other, right?
Yeah.
All right. You're gonna want to do scan. Dot next line.
Yep, hang on a sec, it's freezing up. Okay, and like you said, next line. And this pulls it out as a string by default. That's why we need to parse the integer.
Yes, so you can do that with a lot of things. You can do it, I believe, with doubles and stuff like that. It just is an easy way to convert strings into something that you want. If you are, in this case, getting an integer from them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also where the try and catch comes in, because if a user inputs anything but an integer, it will throw it and then whatever you want to do in your catch. So Alan, if you want to go down to the catch,
yep.
This is where we're going to do something just a little info. So you're going to print out something like please use a whole number. Obviously, because integers only handle whole numbers, so if it's words, it'll just tell them, please use a whole number. Just easier for everybody. Okay.
And now I'm just going to go over something here real quick. I don't remember if we mentioned it or not, but there are a couple of different ways you can set up for statements. I believe in the example we used I++. Now in this case, we wanted to count down from the number that you started with, so we were having minus minus. And this will iterate through here until I is 0.
Well, until I is 1.
Until I is 1, and then it will stop at 0, because if you multiply a number by 0, it turns into 0, and we don't want the result to be 0. We want to actually factorialize it.
Okay, so this is a lot easier than you probably think it is. All you're going to have to do is do result equals result times I. Obviously, you're taking 1 multiplied by whatever your for statement I is equal to, and then it will repeat through it. And we'll just have it print out the result every time it's multiplied, just because you can see how fast factorials build up, because it is really cool. And you can't use a number very high just for the fact of how quickly they build up.
Yes.
And when I say not very big, as in...
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit here. Now that it's ready, we're going to build this and just show you how it's working so far. Okay, so you can see here it prompts the user for a number and say, let's factorialize 7. It'll show you every step in between until you get the answer here.
Obviously, the reason the last two are because it multiplies by 1 that last time.
Yes.
If you know math, which you should, when you multiply by 1, you get the same number.
And the reason the first two are the same is because result is 1 to start with. So, okay, now,
of course, there's ways you can fix that, and that's something you should do on your own to see if you can do it.
Yes. Now, something else here. You may get the occasional user, like some of our friends, that try to break everything they possibly can code-wise. So, knowing him, he'd put in something like -3. Now, obviously, that's not really going to work. So, we're going to put a way to find that and see if that works. We're also going to catch things here for numbers too big.
So
now, what do I mean by too big? I mean 20 is too big for it to handle.
like here, just put in 21. Okay.
20, it results in a negative. It can't handle it. It's too big of a number.
Yeah, it's it starts to, like I told you, Factorial is built up extremely fast. I mean, if you want to do huge factorials, you are going to need a ridiculous way to do it.
Okay,
Or
so
bigger variables.
now just to catch this, this isn't the number where it actually starts to mess up, but we're just going to put it in here in case. If a number is greater than or equal to 20, we don't want it to actually do anything with it. So we're going to do a system.print. Oops, accidentally hit enter. Your number is too big. Okay, and then we're going to add a break here, which stops it from multiplying the number anyways. This is just save resources, and you're going to probably want to use this a lot in bigger programs so that it doesn't become a resource hog.
Yeah, it literally what that will do is it will break what it is doing and just move on. In this case, it's in a for statement. It will break out of the for statement.
Mm-hmm. Now, we're also going to put an else loop in here. You don't really have to do this part because it's a breaking, but better safe than sorry. For this small of a program, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Now, we're also going to add something else in here that will let us know, just another print so that the user knows, hey, it's finished, it worked. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new Boolean. Again, your shortcuts to finish it is BO and then whatever your completion code is. And we're going to name this pass. And by default, we're going to have it be false. And in here, if it will work, we're going to set it to true. This is not the most efficient code ever, as it tries to set to true every time it cycles through. But again, this is such a small program that
It shouldn't
matter. If you do write programs on your own, I would very much recommend not doing repetitive things unless it's absolutely necessary inside of loops.
This is one of the instances where, obviously, if it was big enough, it could really wreck something.
Mm. And now, out here, we're going to do an if that will cycle through that. And if pass, we're going to do a system out. Let me scroll down here a bit. System.out.println. And we're going to say, okay, you did it. Operation success. Okay. And then now, if it doesn't succeed, we're going to do the same thing except operation fail. And now, since I am like most coders and don't want to type out everything multiple times, I reuse code. That is a very important and very useful part of Java. You can reuse a lot of code. We can get into that in a couple of episodes here in modularity and being able to use pieces from one program to another.
I mean, if you've already done something and all you need to do is modify a little bit, make sure there's nothing wrong with copy and pasting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really.
If you're taking it from someone else, make sure they're okay with it first.
Yes.
But if you're using your own code, sure, if it works, use it. However, you should not try to make your code to be able to be used in every situation. Think about it how it is, and if it happens to work in the situation, great. But don't
rely on the old work.
Okay. Okay. And now if we run this, it'll cycle through and ask correctly. Now we're also going to show you something kind of cool here. New factorialize is what actually ran the code. You can do that from inside the code again. I would not recommend doing this somewhere up in the middle, but after it's finished, you can go ahead and do this. We're going to put this inside another try.
Another try and catch, because there's a possibility of, somebody trying to break it or be a jerk face. Okay, you can delete the line in there because
Yep.
you don't have to worry about the error.
Okay, so in here, again, we're going to want to get the value.
First, you're gonna.
Oh, yep.
You're going to need to ask a question.
We're going to ask the people if they want to do it again. I'd like to try again. Or another.
Then do it like otherwise type anything else.
Okay, so now we're going to actually see if the user did type yes.
All right, I'll do this part. If you're going to do if scan.next line dot equals ignore case, or we can wait. It's all good.
Yeah, we can wait. Or I can type it out because I don't want to wait.
Dot equals ignore case.
And the equals ignore case is just saying, yeah, what happens if they happen to capitalize every other letter? Well, doesn't matter. They typed yes.
It's treating everything the same.
It converts everything to lowercase.
And now, if you're going to use that, make sure it's a scenario where it doesn't matter.
Yes.
Most scenarios it will, but
like if you're dealing with passwords, I wouldn't recommend doing this. There is special stuff specifically for passwords.
We can go through that in advance.
Yeah, you would want case sensitive.
Okay, now this is where it gets super easy because Java can handle recursion really well.
We're going to finish up this part first, and then I'll go into that.
Okay. And obviously, otherwise, if they typed anything else other than that, we're just going to tell them that we're going to shut down. Super simple. Okay. So this is the cool thing about recursion. You're just going to be able to type new and then factorialize.
Oop. That's not my clipboard anymore. And
again, recursion is something you need to be very, very careful about because
you don't want to get too recursive.
Yes, but in this case, it doesn't get any easier than this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and now if we would run this code, which we're going to right now. Okay, it's going to ask us for a number. We're going to go with 5 this time. Okay, yes. Yeah, sure, let's do another. Yes, and oh, there we go. Ask for another one. 3, 6, okay. 7. And now, okay, yeah. Nope. That would work. Or, my favorite random word, llamas. And shutting down, because that wasn't the word yes. Okay, now we have one last thing that we're going to go over here. Documentation. We're just going to do a really fast overview of it. This is kind of what helps other people know what your code is doing and for you to remember what your code is doing. What we're going to use is called Javadocs. It's the default documentation style. And what you're going to want to do here, they're like comments. They're like block comments, except a little bit different. You put 2 asterisks above what you want it to do, like right here. This is going to be what this class does. And now we're going to say, is that still my... Factorializes a number. And here, just put in what each variable and what each thing does. Now, these aren't necessarily very good comments, but for time's sake, we're just going to keep them short. And Alt-Shift-F, and save it. Now, over here in your Project tab, wait for it to open up here. You're going to want to go to whatever you named your project, right-click, Generate Javadoc. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to search through every class in this project and generate the Javadocs, the actual documentation. Now, this is a very small project, so it shouldn't take long at all. And once it finishes, it'll start it up in your browser. This is actually set up like the actual Javadocs that they use for Java itself. Once this loads up here, and here you can see, well, we've only got one class, so we're going to click on it. And in here, once it loads up, it'll tell you everything about it. Now in here, right here, it'll tell you this factorializes a number, and if we had things set to public, it would tell you what they are. Now I forgot to do that, so it's not going to show that here, but, okay, in here I've got the new one. And here, now that I've set everything to public, in the code here, public, you can see here, it's pass is a boolean, and it tells you a little bit about it. Factorialize, it tells you exactly what we typed above it. Okay, next episode, we're going to be going over some basic GUI operations.
Sure, why not?
Okay, good luck with coding.
And may the code be with you.